Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back. With Moonstone Island now being out and having played through the majority of the game as of the time of recording this video, I definitely feel like it's a good time to go over some tips and tricks for the game, especially if you've been watching my Let's Play up to this point, which should be a few episodes in by now. You will definitely see that throughout that Let's Play, there are many things that could have been benefited from a video like this. But that being said, today I'm here to help you guys out so you don't have to suffer the same fate as me, especially if you're dumb like I am. I've got some really valuable tips and some cool tricks to show you guys today, so make sure to sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Okay, so first of all, stripping enemy armor. This is a tip that is given to you at the beginning of the game, but I cannot stress the importance of how powerful cards like Bash can be, especially if you have the stronger version, which can strip enemies of up to 5 stacks of their shields. Essentially, when enemies run out of their armor stacks, they become dizzy and take increased damage for 2 turns, whilst being unable to move for 1. A great monster for wearing down enemy armor is Dusty, who is sort of like the MVP of our Let's Play series, as it gains access to many of these cards, which can help set up your team for success. The dungeons present within the game, of which there are 30, will feature a boss that can stack armor like crazy. I've seen situations where it has 15 or more armor stacks present, and each of these stacks block a certain amount of damage, so seriously make sure you're focusing on reducing enemy armor, as any monster that can do so is invaluable. Next up, we have enemy strength. So this is a really quick tip, but something that I didn't even realize at first, but essentially the compass at the top left corner of your screen will actually indicate how strong enemies are on any given island. If the compass is red, you might want to come back when you're a higher level, and it'll also depend on how filled out it is. If you complete Professor Zed's initial research, you'll also unlock the ability to see levels in the overworld, which is really helpful. Next up, don't miss out on the Spirit Barn. I made a whole video on this a while back, probably not too long before this video goes live, but I can't stress enough, do not miss out on the Spirit Barn. This is your only way to hold more than 3 monsters, and it's really simple to get, but easy to miss if you just want to go out and explore right away like I did. Essentially, at the beginning of the game, you're going to be given a quest from Professor Zed, asking you to capture a level 5 spirit and bring it back to him in the lab. If you do this, you'll receive the crafting recipes for the Spirit Barn and some items that come with it that are essential. Furthermore, make sure you're capturing monsters as you go and feeding your own, because this will also level up your abilities as a tamer, allowing you to unlock skills that will let you capture higher level creatures. I know this point's a bit redundant if you've seen that other video, but seriously, make sure to go get the Spirit Barn ASAP. Next up, we have cheesing enemy dungeon encounters. So this will work for a couple of dungeons, but basically there are some points in the game where there'll be a larger monster sitting on top of a button that will allow you to get to the next stage of the dungeon. If you've leveled up your ability to flee or have the retreat card, you can actually cheese these encounters by fleeing from them. Then when you're invincible for a few seconds, step on the button right away, then leave so you're not in contact with them anymore, and then run up the side of them. This is a fun little cheese strat if you're trying to keep yourself healthy for a boss, and while it doesn't work in the seasonal temples, as those just teleport you outside, it does for a few dungeons and could aid you a little bit. Next up, make sure to upgrade your means of travel. This is another quick tip that should be relatively straightforward, but make sure that you're putting most of your focus into upgrading your means of travel. The broomstick is the first upgrade from the balloon, which will allow you to travel much quicker, but still has somewhat of a limited range, while the plane will actually allow you to fly pretty much as far as your energy will take you at a much faster rate. Prioritizing upgrading your means of travel will greatly improve your efficiency when it comes to exploring and finding dungeons. You're also going to want to be a hoarder, and I know when it comes to resource management type games, it's a big no-no, but I will say that the game has 4 temples, each based off one of the 4 seasons, and they will require different offerings. These offerings range from just random ass stuff like cattails to more elusive items. I suggest keeping a few of each thing you find in your storage space. It doesn't really hurt keeping them there if you have the space for it, and one of these items might come in handy. Next, for number 7, we have an elevation exploit, which is a pretty simple trick you can do if you don't feel like placing bridges down every time you want to go through a body of water. You can actually face away from the island and then fly and then come around to a higher point or a point that's across the water in order to easily get around something. I've used this technique to enter dungeons that you would otherwise need to teleport to. I've used it to access areas in the middle of the water and more. Just know that this exploit can be a little bit tricky when you're trying to go up a river, since if you happen to miss, you'll end up on some land that maybe you weren't really trying to get to. Next up, we got the secret card shop. So throughout your travels, there's a mysterious NPC that sells you cards. He just kind of randomly shows up wherever he does, and always make sure to check what he has in stock, because he sells those special tags that let you either add cards, upgrade cards, or remove cards from your monster pool, and will usually sell some pretty be powerful cards as well. Just make sure you're not overstocking on cards, because if you have too many, it'll be harder to make a consistent strategy when playing. So something that's pretty easy to do is to forget about the medallion item, which allows you to traverse into the pocket dimension where your monsters lie. One of the reasons that this is so important is because besides giving you the ability to heal and feed your monsters, which by the way will help you gather skill points for capturing higher level creatures, is that the monsters will need to be manually leveled up from time to time, which will give them more cards that you could utilize, making them more powerful. Essentially, a quick tip, just make sure you're going into the pocket dimension often just to check up, because you might miss the prompt that tells you you leveled up. Now, finally, last but not least, for number 10, our final tip is bridges. Craft a lot of them because they're very useful for traveling across spaces that you can't use my little exploit for. They're very cheap to craft, only requiring 1 stone and 1 piece of wood, and they stick around forever as far as I can tell after placing them, meaning that if you want to revisit certain locations, you won't have to place them down again, you'll have an easy access route. If you find yourself in a situation where you don't have enough bridges to get to a certain spot, you can also exploit this a little bit by placing down 2 bridges and then picking up the one behind you as you go in order to travel great distances that would usually require multiple pieces. But yeah, that's pretty much it for beginner tips and tricks. Some of these I definitely wish I was paying more attention to earlier on in my playthrough, and others, while pretty straightforward, are extraordinarily important. If you are enjoying Moonstone Island so far, definitely let me know down below which aspect of the game is your favorite, and let me know what other types of guides you'd like to see me make down the line. Also, if you have any tips and tricks of your own, definitely leave them down below, and make sure to subscribe for daily monster taming videos and more Moonstone content. Quickly, just wanted to say special thanks to my patrons, especially Jim Hamilton, Dro Ghost, Dark Persona, Exodus, and Candy Morency, and I'll see you next time. Peace.